Welcome, and let's do this like I'm teaching 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds in simple things like spell, um, Mississippi, those types of things. Just the early ways of looking things at the most, well, basic, but yeah, the most basic level. What are these good for? I'm going to show images of things, items. What can you do with them? What is its tangible use? And even furthermore, speaking, because I know I'm talking with adults, how can you invest in such? So let's get started and show the first item. What is it? It's obviously fruit. It seems really fresh, really good, really edible. It's obviously, if you're looking at value, does it have it? Yes. What can you do? You can cut it. You can wash it. But most importantly, you can consume it, thus eat it. As far as investing in it, I suppose if you are selling it, you can do so, farmers markets and things of the like. But as far as long-term investing, you cannot hold these certain items. These are items that are also available for things you can grow. Let's move on to the next item. And this is pretty simple again. It's a car. It's a vehicle, a motor vehicle. This can allow you to transport on a road to large places, or large distance, rather, and get there a lot faster, a lot easier than walking and running, although those are good activities. But for getting somewhere fast, this most certainly does well. As far as investing in such, by holding it, these lose value over time for two reasons. One, because you use it and the wear and tear. And two, because innovations, these will always get better over time, and thus used vehicles, well, they have a price market, and obviously, again, then go low. You can work into antique levels at different times. That's another different market in which it has. Of course, that means having the right cars and most certainly the right upkeep and maintaining your antique vehicles. Let's move on to the next picture. And we're looking at toilet paper. That's obviously used for the obvious reason you should know, as well as it's a cleaning aid that can work like a paper towel, although not as efficient for such. Unlike fruit, this is something you can store and hold practically for, I'm not going to say forever, but for a long period of time. The problems in this investment is that it is fragile to things like rain and even temperature settings. I'm sure if it's packaged well, it would do well in right conditions of air temperature. And then as far as selling it, I mean, it's just something that people do not hold and sell later because you have to have a lot of storage space to hold $1,000 worth, let alone $1,000,000 worth, as if anyone would do that, worth of such a commodity. And the next one, well, this will be the final really easy one, but there's actually two things in here, really. A bunch of plates, bowls, some spoons. There's many ways of using such an item. The most obvious way is for assistance for eating, as it's easy to put food in bowls and plates and then eat from there. These look like plastic spoons. These are good for stirring different things, but there's so many different assorted things you can do. You can put stuff in these bowls, but generally speaking, that's what they're always used for. Again, a market in which if you were to buy and hold these and sell later, it's just something people don't do, but in a yard sale, and you don't usually get great prices in there. But if you hold them, it will still contain value 50 years from now. I'm pretty confident in that. And as far as such, you got to avoid it from having damage, being broken, going through fire, because that, of course, would ruin the product and destroy it. Another simple item, this just being a house and a yard. However, as far as what you use it for, you can do so many specifics within a living quarters, and it's one of your main assets, if not the main one, which everybody owns. And within its investing point, it's got what we call real estate. And there's a lot of different legal situations and terms to be aware of when you do this as a business, when you not only buy a house to live with and thus having an investment within the house you own, but then you also can sell them, rent them. There's so many business ideas that do go on with such. And as far as holding its value, well, it seems as if the house has a shelf life of about 100 years if it's made really well. But even after 20, 25 years is going to need several layers of construction, renovations, and thus added equity to restore values. So it's a timeline for how long an event or such an asset would hold. It would hold much longer than the first item of that of fruit, obviously. But it's in the same example. It degrades over time, but unlike fruit, you could actually restore such an event, but through cost. Within this image, there really is only two things we can see: water and the sky. Most certainly, this would have to be the ocean, although it could be a lake like Lake Superior or a large Great Lake of the like. It is, in fact, that of the ocean in the Pacific. So what can you do with it? Well, you certainly can't drink it because it's salt water. You could store it. You could physically find a way to get it, which is go to the ocean, and you really don't sell it either. And there is really no investing in such an item. It's just one of the most abundant resources that we can get access to on this planet. And in this image, we see a piece of paper that would usually be in a display frame. Looks a little older in time. It's a certificate, a baseball one for the Baltimore Orioles Baseball Club, Inc. It has a unique identification number. In this case, for this example, for Robert Myers, it was number 6439. It was dated 1965. So when you see things, these are usually things that give you ownership of something. But what is that something? And it could be ownership of a partial owner of the team, the shares. This can give you unique benefits, usually from profits and thus dividends and of the like. And a lot of times we see often certificates be used for, of course, colleges and such, to be a measure of proof that you have accomplished such an accomplishment. That's what it tangibly is. So it's something you would put on a wall. It's something you would store. There really isn't any other uses. And then through time, if you have a copy of this, it could become a numismatic antique item that can sell on such a market, which is really the only way you can look at something like this as far as investing, other than selling a share over to someone else. There used to be gift certificates for different stores. Now they are such as gift cards. I'm not going to put an image of one up, but what would they be? They would be access to a particular thing it states. You have $100 here. Or you get 2 free lawnmowers. This will give you 1 lawnmower of just a whatever item. It gives you a rights of ownership towards something. And let's go on to the next item. And in this image, we see what says 10 OZ, which represents 10 ounces. What is not stated is the amount of ounces, this being troy ounces, but you'd be sure that it would be. 9999, that represents 99.99% of such an item to be that of fine silver, with fine silver written in French below that. There's also a serial number, but that serial number really doesn't mean anything. And it's in some plastic to mainly keep tarnish away from this, and thus placing such on the just by seeing air, that is, so it keeps it away from that of air. What can you do with it? Well, other than holding it, looking at it, trading it, there really is only one other thing mainly, and that is to melt it down. And then you can melt it down into a liquid or a steaming liquid, and thus transform it into however you may wish, which is what in scientific terms would be a very common thing to do. As far as holding this, unlike toilet paper, you can hold this in smaller spaces. You can put $1,000 worth of silver in a much shorter space than you would $1,000 worth of toilet paper. Over time, it's not the difficultest of challenges in itself to even keep tarnish off it, but there is really no danger for things of it getting wet. And even as far as its content of silver alone, it's reluctant to fire, although you will see burn stains and fire stains that will live on it forever thereafter it, which could take away numismatic value, but it's something that you can physically do so, and there is a market for silver, of course, and you'd have to think that there always would be one. Let's go on to the next item. And what we see here, again, is two different things. We see this box, which is used to put stuff in, storage, and good for transportation because we have this little thing to put your hand on to bring things with you. So it's an amazing tool for storage. Of course, it's something that can hold on for a little while. It'll be difficult to trade, and as evolution comes on, better ones can come into play, but this is something that is not likely to be improved that much throughout the years, although you can expect things can only get better. Now here we're looking at what is a material mainly made out of cotton, and there's a whole bunch of them. There are thousands and thousands and thousands. This is over $1 million. And it's $1. It's like a certificate kind of deal, like a gift certificate. And that gives you that of $1, but unfortunately I cannot put a picture of what $1 is, because what is it? Like, you have a gift certificate for, say, a free snowmobile. You know what a snowmobile would look like. A gift certificate for a meal at a restaurant. You know what that meal is going to look like. So I don't know what $1 looks like. What can you do with it? Well, you can hold it, you can store it, you can put it in your pocket, you can even wash it, and it's not going to look any different at all. At least the newer Canadian ones that I'm used to, and I have washed them a couple times by mistake. And you can easily, without even telling somebody what this is, give it to them at a place, and they know exactly what to do. If you go to something that they call a store, a vendor, they know exactly what to do with it. Very, very amazing how that works. Now, as far as investing and such, well, it's something you can very easily hold. If it degrades through time, it's not going to degrade enough to destroy any value. And people don't care about its condition when they accept it that often, which is something that's worth noting. You also notice through time that you get less and less items with this when you look back over the last 5, 10, 20 years. And there have been other use cases of such in history where these just vanish in the sense that they become unacceptable because all they really are is a transfer of goods. And let's move on to the next item. Next up, we have what would be called a baseball or a hardball. This is used as the ball to throw and hit and catch in the game of baseball. It can be used for different things, like to try to throw it at a wall to get a squirrel to get away from a particular area in the backyard you want to go after. There's so many different things you can do with it. But you normally would throw and catch it and hit it. And you'd hit it with what they call a baseball bat. But we're not going to put that image on the screen. As far as investing in it, another difficult thing that's hard to sell probably. And you really have to be careful to keep this perfect. You basically got to keep it in a box. You cannot get it wet and all that kind of stuff. And it's better to store this than toilet paper, but silver you could probably store a little bit more on such an item. And this one here is just a bunch of symbols with the B. It's just all they are pictures and designs. And if you want to know what a Bitcoin looks like, well, technically, I guess you could see it on a screen with a number. But let's talk about Bitcoin like that of dollars. For there really is only one thing you can do with them other than look at them, store them, and look at them. And I guess you can trade them too as well, but you can send them to somebody else, which is another form of trading. You are sending. And you can receive them. They're a form of receiving and sending. And it's a very legitimate one. It's something that could obviously get better from other sources through evolution. And as far as something you can invest in, well, it's at the stage you can easily buy them and sell them, unlike things like baseballs and toilet paper. And it's even easier to sell for that of stuff like silver. But this is also, that's all it is. I mean, all you can do is send and receive it. So when it comes down to it, it's good to always know what you can do with a particular item. And as an investor, what does that mean? And as a user of that item, what does it mean? Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.